Welcome to another episode of Candid Convos, and today we have a special edition. Let's check out Mark Cerniglia Part 2. So you've touched on very important subjects here, and I think they're good. They're going to be very good for our listeners because you're talking about how to better leverage the way you work with someone that's from offshore, with your staffer, right? But before we jump into details, because I would like to ask, what else are you doing? Like, what other tips can you give us? I'm wondering, because they're offshore, have they brought something to the table that's unexpected? Or is the relationship, because of the way you're handling, it getting closer and closer to pretty much it's the same for everybody?
I would say it's getting closer and closer. That's the same for everyone. I think that I can't say there's anything particularly that stood out to me that's been surprising. In our particular case, all of our offshore staff is in Mexico, and I have found them to be incredibly hardworking. So that's definitely a compliment I would give them. But no, I think that, to your point, I think that we've tried to normalize the experience as much as possible to where they just feel like a remote full-time employee. It doesn't matter if they're in Mexico or if they're in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
They're just here with us, just remotely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that, speaking as a staffer myself, it could get very lonely if I didn't have anybody that would care. And to me, it sounds like you care. You care enough for them to put them in Facebook portals, to carry them with you to meetings, like to give them an equal stand. Now I do want to ask.
I can't tell you how valuable that's been.
Yeah. Then, because it makes a lot of sense. I've spoken to other people before that are in this same line of business, like working virtually and working as staffers with firms that work ethically, that have very high demanding, like level stakes. It's a very different bubble. We live in a different reality because of this. We learn a lot. We are very thankful. When you said people from Mexico, and I'm really that this is also familiar with other places that we find people from. When we talk about, when we hear about the Great Resignation, to us it's just weird. Like we're very unfamiliar with that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little blown out of proportion in my opinion. The whole movement. I as much as I love social media, right? I run a content marketing agency. One thing I also have noticed about social media is the loud voices win. So I don't know how true this movement is versus it just being the loud voices. There's definitely some truth to it, but I don't know. Maybe we haven't struggled with it because we've got a great team. I don't know. I really can't speak to it that much because I feel like it hasn't hit us very much. But yeah. but I mean, maybe it sounds harsh, but if I can find someone in Mexico to do it for a third of the price, and that person, proportionately speaking, is going to actually be making a better living than the person would have here. See, like that's the part that actually fires me up, is knowing that, like, while saving money by paying someone offshore, I'm also actually improving their quality of life more than I would with what I could pay somebody here in the States. And we actually embrace this culturally. Like, we actually talk about this as a company, with both groups of people, our stateside office people, and then our remote offshore people. We don't necessarily publicize everyone's income, but it's very known and understood that our offshore staff make a fraction of what our stateside staff make. But what we talk about is the long-term goal of that is so that everyone can make proportionately more. Right. And so we're just open about that. And that's how I think we get everybody on board and excited, because it's like, hey, offshore person, like, yes, you get a fraction of what people make here for a similar job. But number one, That's a great income for you. So try not to focus too much on what someone else here is making. But number two, because we're able to pay you less than what we would someone here, in the long run, we're going to be able to pay our people here more, and we're actually going to be able to pay you more as well as we grow, because I can afford 3 of you for every 1 person here. And if I do that the smart way, I can grow the company and everyone can actually make more money in the long run. So we've really embraced that as part of our vision as a company. And we talk about that when we talk about our 1-year goals, our 3-year goals. We talk about people earning more, and this hybrid offshore stateside model being a key to that. We just send them. Yeah.
But you set the formula. Like, you need to have some sort of a meeting. You need to have a way for them to stay involved, constant meetings, and very clear channels of communications. So what you do is you put all those 3 together. No matter what software you use, no matter what hardware you use, it's going to work fine. But the insight on how to turn someone that's virtually to become an in-house employee, an offshore but on-site employee, that's just fantastic. I didn't view it.
I'm just gonna. I know this is a podcast, but you have video here. I'm just gonna show you.
Yes, I'm curious.
So for the people that are listening to the podcast, maybe this can be some encouragement for them to come to the website link for the podcast and see the video, right?
Yeah.
But here they are. That's our staff. Hey guys, I'm on a podcast right now talking about how we use portals. It's a yeah. So that's our staff. Yeah, that's 3 of them. You know, and they just hang out. Thanks, y'all. Oh, here's our normal staff. Oh, yeah. You know, but yeah, that's it. They're on there. We can just pick them up and carry them around.
They
can mute themselves. They can turn the volume down. The other cool thing, I don't know if you've kind of thought of this yet. The other cool thing is, like, they pick up on they can participate in office conversation. Like in the United States, we call it like water cooler chat. Yeah. You know, just the conversations about how your day is going, or the date you were on last week, or like their portal is a window into the office for them too, so that they can also like they can turn the volume off if they're trying to focus, but if they can also turn it up just enough to where it's not distracting, but they can also hear a conversation no different than you could overhear a conversation if you were in the office, and they can participate.
You know, I keep asking people, how do you manage to integrate someone that's from another country to your office and for them to feel part of the effort? You've done an exemplary work just at showing what creativity and a couple of tools can get you.
Yeah, you should put, if you think of it, maybe put like the links. I'll give you the products real quick right now. Maybe you put links in the show notes for people if they want to but yeah, it's the Facebook Portal Go, which you can get on Amazon. So maybe we'll put a link in the show notes for that. The smart board that we use is called the Vibe, VIBE. You have to just Google Vibe smart board. It's a little expensive. There's some cheaper smart boards out there. Like, I think Samsung makes one called the Flip. It's a little bit cheaper, but investing in a smart board has been really helpful. Also, these smart boards also are really cool because you can mount them to a wall, or you can buy a stand that's on wheels. And again, when we think about the experience for the offshore person, I don't want anytime, like if I have a smart board on wheels, I can wheel that smart board anywhere into the office. I might have to unplug it and plug it back in, but now if you're one of my offshore people, I can put you different places of the office, right? You're not like mounted to a wall. So I just like to think about little things like that make something a little bit more maneuverable. Mm-hmm. Right. And then there's some others we didn't talk about, but like everybody getting on WhatsApp so that you can like call each other the same way you would call a cell phone, right? Making sure that push notifications is turned on WhatsApp so that if you text or call WhatsApp notifies you the same way an actual text or a phone call would. So you just look for these little things that remove obstacles.
Mindful of your time, I want to thank you for coming as a guest on the show. This was a repeat appearance, but it felt like you came up with something completely new and completely different from last time. The way that you're working, the way that you're moving, the way that you also talk about how to grow marketing, how to grow a firm, and growing from within to later, of course, try all those different things that are out there. I can't thank you enough for everything that you've shared on this podcast. So thank you for being our return guest. I want to have you again, maybe not next month, but why not in a couple of months, maybe in a year? I'd love to see.
Anytime.
What are you doing?
Anytime. If anybody wants to learn more about what we do as a company, they can just go to spotlightbranding.com, fill out the contact form, mention the podcast episode, and I'll tell you what, mention the podcast episode and that I said on the episode that we'll give you a deal, and I'll make sure that the salesperson you speak with talks to me and we hook you up. So just go to spotlightbranding.com and go there. And if, we also have a bunch of resources if you just kind of want to learn about marketing. And then separately, in terms of if anybody just wants to pick our brain more on how we do the offshore stuff, I'm an open book. I don't mind sharing. Same thing, go to spotlightbranding.com, fill out the contact form, and just mention that that you heard the owner on the podcast and you had some more questions about how we do offshore staff, and I'll be happy to hop on a call for 10 minutes or shoot you an email if anybody wants to pick my brain further.
Mark, you give too much. Thank you very much. You guys heard from him. My last question was actually that, like, if you don't know by now, can you please let people know where they can find you and what you can do for them? But I think it's crystal clear. So is there anything else that we're leaving out before we should log off, Mark? No,
I think a lot of good nuggets. So hopefully you guys can put some of those nuggets in the show notes and people can grab them pretty easily. And, I hope we help some people. Yeah, you got it. Thank you very much. And then, well, guys, see you in the next episode of Candid Convos. Again, Mark, thank you very much.